At long last, probably one of the most asked for characters in this whole Fire Emblem Sacred Stone solo run series. Folks, today we are going to be using Ewan, the final trainee character on the list, and probably the run that has surprised me the most in a long time. So strap in and grab some popcorn, because it's time to find out if I can beat Fire Emblem the Sacred Stones using only Ewan. So first things first, there are a few things to talk about for Ewan. And the things I do need to touch on right away are the Master Seal you see in his inventory and his starting inventory. So if you're new to the series and haven't watched the Emilia and Ross solo runs, which you should, by the way, they are great videos, go watch them when you have a minute. But for the trainee units, we bring the Master Seal along, as for some reason, their promo is bugged. Normally, once you get them to level 10, you will have a little cutscene in the next battle preparation screen that will allow you to promo. But in this format, since we bring them along at first, we don't get the battle preparation screen early on. So for some reason, I don't know why exactly, it doesn't allow me to promo out of the trainee class at any point. So to get around this little bug, I bring out the Master Seal to make things a little easier. I will of course promo after the map where I get level 10 to keep it fair. There's going to be no promotion on map, just to keep it within the boundaries of what a regular trainee run would be like. All right, for the next point, which is more important in my opinion, is Ewan's starting inventory, because his inventory is a little different on both routes, whether you're doing Ephraim or Eirika route. Basically, it's the same thing except for the stat booster you get. On Eirika's route, you get the energy ring, and on Ephraim's route, you get a dragon shield. Essentially, it becomes a game of picking the right stat booster. You might think that I should go with the Eirika route inventory, as these runs take place on Eirika route usually, but I will actually do the opposite. Since on Eirika run, you do get 2 free energy rings, one from the later Ewan that I will get, and the other comes from Carlisle's map in a chest. Giving Ewan an next run from the get-go seems like a little bit of a waste of a resource, personally, I think. And additionally, given his starting stats of 0 defense, giving him a slight bit more survivability early is a lot more helpful for this frail little mage. And you may take issue with this, but in my opinion, there's essentially no strong argument either way in terms of what feels fairer, because if you've watched this series before, you know that I tend to not replace who Eirika is being replaced with later on in the map. For example, the Emilia run, where Emilia got 2 speed wings because she starts with a speed wing, and the later Emilia gave her a speed wing too. And since I've never really changed anything, I just think the Draco Shield is just a better item from a stat point for Ewan to get early on. So that's what we're going to go with. And here you can see Ewan's bases and growth, and you'll see that the Draco Shield will probably help him the most out of both items. Unsurprisingly, Ewan will have some of the lowest stats in the game, as he is a trainee unit, which makes sense. He comes with low stats, and the point is to grow him into a monster, or use his growths to get him way ahead. And that might make you think that his growths are going to be awesome. Well, not necessarily. They aren't bad. Don't get me wrong, they aren't bad at all, but they're not impressive either. Like 50 magic is nice, but a lot of magical units usually have a better growth there. Where Ewan's extra growths will come handy is with the 10 extra level he gets. That's where his advantage comes from. As I've already said, his magic is good but not impressive. He's got average skill, his speed is a little bit on the lower side, and he's got good luck and resistance growth. But, you know, on top of that, he has a 15% in defense and 50% in HP, which aren't the lowest in the game, but they're in the bottom category for sure. Again, somehow Knoll manages to sneak his way in these videos, and he has even a lower defense than 15, so Ewan's not the worst there. But all that will just mean that tanking hits will not be his specialty at all. He's definitely going to be a glass cannon more than anything, if anything. With just these growths in front of me, they don't make me lean in any particular direction when it comes to his overall performance. It's kind of hard to tell sometimes with these characters that just have like 40 to 50 in everything. It's really hard to know what they'll be doing in the run, as it's kind of a toss-up a lot of the time. But as you'll have seen, Ewan will begin with a great first impression by not dying on the prologue map, and not even needing to use the woods or the extra Sev vulnerary to beat the map. He even had a little bit of a dodge competition with O'Neill at the end there, which was kind of funny. But unlike his trainee counterparts, who both struggled a little on the prologue, Ewan made it out easily. Oh, and before I forget, here are the rules for this challenge. If you're new to the channel, first of all, welcome. Second of all, hit that subscribe button, as I'm trying to reach 15,000 subscribers by the end of the year. here, but we always do these runs on hard mode, no cheating or glitches for the most part, 1 healing item per map, and finally we cannot use the convoy to grab more healing items. However, we can get more healing items through the normal means such as trading from allies or force deployed, chests, villages, enemy drops, and etc. Alright, so when it comes to Ewan's early game, I was expecting a little bit more difficulty and pushback, especially with how the other trainee runs have gone in the past. And according to the comments in my Emilia video, a lot of people took objection to me calling Emilia the worst trainee, saying that actually, Kratos, Ewan is the worst. But, you know, let me explain to you why Ewan is doing better than Emilia, at least in the context of a solo run. I won't argue their overall performance one against another, even though I believe Ewan is better than Emilia. But in the context of here, the simple answer is most units have horrible resistance in Sacred Stones. Their defense isn't amazing either, but as a general rule of thumb, until the endgame bosses, resistance is just low across the board. And especially so in these early maps. Within the design of the maps, there was no magic involved, so resistance wasn't even taken into account. So these magic units tend to dominate this early part most of the time, which is why Ewan is seemingly having some sort of ease here, as you can see. Additionally, Ewan is enough con to not be weighed down by a single fire tome, unlike Emilia, who literally can't use anything other than the meek slim lance if she wants to keep her speed intact and not get doubled and be able to dodge. While these things help in a solo run format, I also think that's why I value Ewan higher than Emilia in generally, because those factors I just mentioned just make him a little easier to train as a general rule of thumb. But I digress. Ewan will hit level 10 in his pupil class on chapter 1. And let's take a look at this boy and see how the early growths are going. His HP, skill, speed, and resistance are a little under his average, which might seem bad, but he's gonna compensate by being 3 points above on magic and 4 points above in luck, which is really good. I don't think I've ever seen this big of a gap between the averages and the actual stats that we're seeing in a solo run by this point. It's kind of impressive how lucky I've been with the growths here. This is an interesting start nonetheless. We'll push forward to see what happened, because after this map, we'll have a chance to promo to either Sage or Shaman. So what will I do? Well, that's a big question, because they both have their ups and downs, mainly anima versus dark magic. And I won't lie, anima is simply better, just generally, especially for Ewan and his constitution, because it won't be that high up, and the basic flux spell will slow him down slightly even after the promotion. So that's kind of not good omens for dark magic. Additionally, the S rank tome that will be used later in the game gives a huge advantage to Excalibur that gives a passive +5 speed. You could argue that the +5 skill from Gleipnir paired with 23 might is pretty good, but Gleipnir has 2 major flaws going for it. First of all, the obvious 20 fucking weight, which makes it one of the heaviest tome in the game and virtually almost unusable, because you basically can't double with it and you'll very often get doubled from just yielding it. But also, Gleipnir is the only legendary weapon in the game that doesn't have super effective damage against monster units, which makes it horrible against the Demon King. And the super effective damage is kind of what makes the Demon King even possible in the first place. But you could say that if I go down the dark magic route when I promote the Druid, I can get anima back, and you would be right about that. With all that being said, I know a lot of you would love to see me go Shaman, as my hatred for Knoll makes a lot of people think I unilaterally hate dark magic. Which is false, by the way. I actually love the Shaman class look. I just hate Knoll. Fuck that guy. I don't like him. The problem isn't his class, it's him as a person. But also, part of me wants to go Dark Mage a lot, because so many people in the comments of these videos have asked for Druid or Summoner Ewan. It's probably one of the most asked for specific run I've seen. So I'd love to be able to please everyone if I can, but I also want to be able to complete the run. So I still have a choice to make. And before I make it, let's look at the 4 options Ewan has ahead of him when it comes to his second promo. We unfortunately have to look way ahead to know our decision here for the future. And I know that technically can become a super trainee, but for this run, we'll ignore that option fully, as I didn't do it for the last 2 units. So I just want to keep it kind of fair, and I don't want to kind of jump into all that, but you know, who knows what the future holds for us with these videos. Wink wink, nudge nudge. In terms of promo bonuses, there really isn't much to talk about. All class tend to offer similar bonuses without too much variation, like maybe 1 or 2 points here and there, but it's nothing that will come and tip the balance of my decision. The big things that are important are that the Mage Knight becomes mounted, so it has more movement. The Sage get access to light magic, which is a huge boon in the long run. Druid gets anima back, attack, which is great for Excalibur use. And finally, Summoner gives you the ability to summon, which while not bad, isn't really amazing either in solo runs. Unless you're trying to avoid getting hit by a specific unit or simply turtle really hard. There are ways the summoning ability can be used in solo runs that are good, but it just really slows things down. And you know, if I can do it faster, why do it slower? So let's take a look at the stat caps, because they will enlighten us quite a bit. First off, outside of defense, Mage Knight has the worst caps overall. I guess it's kind of a way to balance mounted units, I guess, even though they're still very dominant in the normal way to play the game either way. With that being said, I'm not ruling it out because it also gets slightly better constitution than Sage, but it's going to be as much as both of their classes will have. So Sage has the lowest con overall. Next one up is Summoner, who outside of great resistance has a little bit lower caps than the other two classes. This one I'm ruling out entirely. As we've already talked about being locked to dark magic, make these runs really tough in the end game. And go watch the Knoll run. Just go watch the Knoll run if you want to see Summoner. After that, I would give Druid and overall stat caps the win over Sage. It's got slightly better res and magic, but lower skill. And I do think res and magic are much more valuable stats than skills in these runs. The magic difference of 1 isn't huge, but still worth mentioning. So, with all this, am I enlightened yet? Do I know what I want to do? Not really. Not really. I still don't really know what I want to do. And you could say that the best technical one would be Druid with the S rank in Anima. And that wouldn't be awful overall. I think you're right for the end game. It would be best. Way more damage to the Demon King. More cons, so you get less penalized on the heavy Excalibur tome. It's not a bad proposition. But I've learned from my Molder run mistakes, where I exclusively thought of the Demon King fight. And while the Druid with Anima tome strategy might be best for that one fight exclusively, I'm scared that being stuck to heavy dark tomes on chapter 18 might cause some problems, because chapter 18 all the units are classified as dark magic users, so using Anima will put me at a huge disadvantage and allow me to get stoned by the Gorgons a lot, which means that I would have to switch to dark tomes, which wouldn't be amazing either against the Gorgons. And even the Leon fight later might be a little tougher with the dark mage classes, because the Sage has access to light magic. Where I'm hesitating with the Sage is that we've had a few hard Sage runs in the past year. So I'm scared that Ewan will suffer a similar fate. I think maybe I did overvalue the Sage class a lot this year, and I'm kind of hesitant there. Especially given not great speed growth and low con, where Excalibur's weight might become a problem, canceling out the +5 speed you get from it. And I'm not kidding when I say I spent 20 minutes at this moment with my game paused, just looking at every little single facet and wondering what the hell I do. I was a little too torn, so I decided on doing both. We're just gonna do both. How is that possible? Well, in this video, you'll see me go through the Mage route, where I will later talk about which promotion I will go with Ewan, Mage Knight, or Sage. We'll get into the details of that in a minute. But for now, we're going down the Mage route. So will I be making an extra long video and show you Druid Summoner routes? No, because I feel that might bog down the video a lot if they're a little too similar in the end. And this video is going to be long already, so I don't want to make it extra long. What I will do instead is I'll be running the Ewan Shaman runs, both the Summoner and the Druid, live on stream here on YouTube, and also simultaneously on Twitch. This stream will happen not this coming Sunday, but the next Sunday, the 7th of December. So mark your calendars for that, because on the 7th of December, I'll be doing both the Ewan Summoner and Druid runs right here on YouTube on stream. So you'll have a chance to watch them and see the differences and ask me whatever questions you want about the process of making these videos. So I can't wait to see you guys then. December 7th, mark your calendars. And if you're watching this video past December 7th, well, the streams are available on my YouTube page. You can go watch them. All right, shameless plug aside, let's move on to see if Ewan gets to keep having an easy time or not. It is important to note that he got a game over on chapter 1. His dodge is good, but his defense overall is still pretty bad. So if you're unlucky twice in a row, you just die generally early on. So we have to be careful on that front. And you'll see here that I buy another fire tome from that armory on chapter 2, which normally doesn't hold a fire tome. But if you've watched the loot run in the past, again, another run you should go watch, you'll know that adding the basic tome to the first shop you encounter is the only way around the magic unit runs, as they'll run out of weapon usage before they get to loot and archer tomes of chapter 3. So we need to add this little accessibility feature to make these runs possible. And you'll see here that I die a couple of times on chapter 2, and it'll become very apparent that while Ewan does a ton of damage early, it's quite important to play to the map's terrain's bonuses and take things a little slow, especially early on, because Ewan's frailty will make it that rushing down, at least for these early maps, won't be a good strategy. But beyond this point, the other early maps will simplify a little bit, as Ewan will start getting more levels under his belt, and he'll start making a strong case for himself. To a point where on chapter 5, the only enemies that will hit us once is actually Joshua, but he'll avoid literally every other attack sent his way, and he'll grab the secret book and the Draco Shield from the map to boost both these stats. And I'll also make an effort to grab each other house to save them before the bandits get to those, since we can get our first guiding ring if you save all of the houses, meaning Ewan will be able to promo very quickly. And by very quickly, I mean as of chapter 7. So as chapter 6 plays in the background, let's take a look at our level 20 Mage Ewan, because yes, he'll get 20 that fast. And well, suffice to say, I'm pleasantly shocked. First, the bad. He is 4 points behind in HP, which is a lot, and technically 2 points behind in skill, given that he had the skill book last map. And he is also 3 points behind in resistance. All these things are pretty significant, but what is equally significant is that he is 4 points above in magic. No wonder he's hitting like a truck. He's also 3 points above in speed and 5 points above in luck, which is all insane, by the way. Those gaps are crazy, which is why you've seen me probably rush him down the map a lot and not worry about damage as much, because his dodging has become really, really good. But we'll get to talking about that a little later in the video. It's a little important, but we'll get to it in a minute. Since we need to move on to what I'll promote Ewan as, because I already have the guiding ring. Since I wasn't fully decided between Mage Knight and Sage, as we have touched earlier, Sage equals better caps, while Mage Knight means better movement and slightly more constitution. So what will I do? Well, the big thing for me is that right now both speed and magic are capped, which means that I can for sure use the higher caps of the Sage, and I'm not even worried about getting the levels I need to max out those stats. And the higher con would do a little, but not much in the long run, except for like Excalibur, which slow us down a little bit less due to its high weight. But if we cap our speed with Sage, it won't matter at all in the end. Yes, the Mage Knight does have higher movement, and we've never done a run with that class. But a major point of importance is chapter 18 again, where having only Anima Magic might make the Gorgons a little tougher than I'd like. While Sage gets light magic, which might make the map trivial, and we get other advantages later with light magic, which I will touch on in due time in the run. It's really a toss-up in my opinion. I think both work, but I'll play it safe and go Sage. And I know it sucks because we've never done a Mage Knight run so far, but hopefully I'll be able to fix that in the future or find another way around it. But Sage it is. It's just too good to pass up here. And I must say that we've done a few Sage runs this year, and every time I bring it up, but man, the Sage drip really goes hard. It's been growing on me since I've started this series. The sprites all look so good. I especially like Ewan's with the light blue cape and his red hair. It really does have a nice little contrasting action going. And honestly, it might be one of my favorite ones of all the Sages, except maybe Lute, because it's just so unique with the long hair and everything. The more I'm looking at it, the more I realize I think this might have been the first time I did use Ewan as a Sage in my life, as I usually run him as a Druid. So I think my fondness of this sprite is because I'm so unfamiliar with it. Ewan was definitely designed to be a Sage or Mage Knight because his Druid sprite compared to this one with the color scheme just doesn't match as well. With that being said, following the promo, the run will simplify even more. Ewan will run into no issues in the mid game. On chapter 8, he will handily save Ephraim and friends and grab the angelic robe, which we will need for his terrible HP stats. I'll also take time to get my light magic up to A rank to use some of the latter tomes, and once we've killed Tyrdo, the route split will follow and chapter 9 will too. Nothing of note happens here. Sometimes this map is kind of a roadblock or some kind of shenanigans must happen, but here Ewan just pushes forward and kills everything while also grabbing Amelia's Speedwing. Following this, Ewan gets an easy upgrade by graduating to the Thunder Tome, as they'll start being easily available from the overworld shop. And with only a weight of 6, it fits perfectly with his con and has no negative downside with better crit chance. It's easy for him to yield, and it will increase his damage and crit chance. On chapter 10, we'll get the goddess icon from Tethys, so don't forget that. But as the next easy few maps play in the background, I do want to mention a huge advantage that magic units have in these runs over physical attackers. That may be why they've been so dominant, and that has to do with weapon choice. While magic units get less option overall, they do get access to a much better tier 2 weapon. than physical units do. Well, when it comes to light and anima magic, Thunder and Shine are really solid tomes in their own right. While on the other hand, steel weapons, whilst they have better damage than iron ones, they all kinda just suck a lot. Except maybe the steel sword, but as a general rule of thumb, the steel weaponry is just bad. Their hit rate is bad, their weight is annoying for a lot of the lower con units, which is why I don't lean as much on those weapons in the physical runs, unlike in magic runs, where I will switch to the next tier of weapons as soon as possible, because there's generally no downside to it. And even when it comes to the third tier weapon, Hellfire and Divine are available post chapter 12 to all magic units. They will not be too heavy that the damage they provide is not worth it. They are a fantastic option that you get quite early on to one-tap enemies much more consistently and quickly. And on the other hand, you could say that the tier 3 weapons for physical units are really good because they're the silver weapons, which are awesome. I love the silver weapons. But the problem with them is they're very much unavailable until I believe chapter 17 in shops. So it doesn't become an option until way deep in the run, which gives a huge advantage to magic units to make short work of enemies earlier and save a ton of time. It's just something that I thought I should bring up because it's quite important. Just as more of these solo runs come out, it's really important to like understand those limitations. And I get them because I implicitly play the game so much, but because I can't show every little detail in these videos, some viewers might miss out on this information if I don't explicitly mention it, which is why in the past few runs, I've brought up these little details that give you a much fuller picture of how these runs go and my thought process and decision making while doing them. But yeah, magic units get a huge boon from their weaponry being available early and just being solid overall. With all this being said, I will grab the secret book from chapter 11 and the energy ring from chapter 12, as we always do. But honestly, I don't think the energy ring was that necessary to get, as it capped my strength with 6 levels to go. I think we would have been able to cap it naturally, but better be safe than sorry, right? On chapter 13, we'll rush down Ice as usual, as death ends the map quickly and saves us a lot of time. Next up, chapter 14, we'll save another bit of time as we can ignore the second energy ring, which you get from the right chest in the left-hand side room, which often we have to do a little detour to go grab. But here Ewan, because he's already got cap magic, can head straight for Carlisle. And you'll probably have noticed that Ewan at this point in the run is rolling through things and he's barely getting hit like at all. And don't worry, again, I'll touch on this in a few chapters. We just have a few things to get out of the way first, and this of course is chapter 15, everyone's favorite desert slog. All right, so chapter 15 is going to be quite fast, comparatively speaking to other runs again, because Ewan just demolishes the opposition. But also, because Sage don't get slowed down in the sand, so you can move very easily through the sand, making this like 5% less of a slog. But on the topic of annoying things, something else that will go quickly is Ewan's only Dark Mage competition. Knoll, he will die quickly. Yay. Bye, Knoll. Look at this loser, man. Ewan is so much better than you, buddy. Bye-bye, Knoll. Bye-bye. We will then move on to trying to grab most of the hidden items that we need from the sand. And you'll see the first one I go to is the Metastone. While Ewan doesn't need it, and you'll see in a second when we touch on his level 20 because it will be on the next map, don't worry. Given he has 30 luck now, he'll be able to get the sand items quickly, which means the Metastone will not be long to get. But also because he still has 3 levels to grow, getting that little bit of that boon in those growths honestly can't hurt. It won't be that much of a time waste, and it will just make us maybe a little bit better to cap out those last few stats that need a little bit of help. But it might have been a bad play. You can tell me in the comments if it was or not. Either way, we'll grab the boots and the body rings on top of that, and that's about it. We'll save Ephraim, and honestly, this map will be very easy overall, like no problems for Ewan. Huge shout out to that one Myrmidon though for actually being the only enemy to hit Ewan on this map. Insane work. And then we'll make short work of Calic, and Valter will suffer a similar fate. Goodbye, you creep. And we'll move on to chapter 16, where we'll finally talk about level 20 Ewan in his final form. But first, we must grab the perch from the left-hand Sage, who drops it if you kill him, and it may be very useful later. And the reason I think it might be very useful later, because some of you may remember the Molder run where it wasn't, but here, I think we might be onto something. Because look at these stats. Look at this. This is beautiful. This is perfection. This is true perfection. The only non-maxed out stats are his skill, defense, and HP. All three of which aren't maxed out because he rolled poorly when it comes to his gross, because he should be 2 points higher in his skill, given the 2 secret books he got, 3 points higher in his HP, given the 1 angelic robe he got, and 2 points higher in his defense, given his 2 Draco shield. But all his other stats are maxed out and looking really good. This might be the best a unit has looked in all of solo runs so far. That's crazy. Eagle-eyed viewers will also have noticed that since the last time we saw this screen, this level 20 screen when he was a mage, the L stat at the bottom, which represents, I think, your game over, or at least that's what the comment section has been telling me in these videos. This means that Ewan hasn't game overed once since chapter 3. Not a single unlucky moment. No death, just pure domination. All this to say, so far, Ewan has just been cruising through the game. Even when we look back at the early game, he really didn't have a big struggle. Just using the environments to its full capacity early and play it safe to get enough levels under his belt, and we had an easy time after that. And that is kind of in part because of a stat we rarely talk about on this channel or even in the wider Fire Emblem community. Or at least it's talked about, but I don't think respected. It's often touted as one of the worst stats, and that is luck. Of course, Ewan's dodge rate is good because 26 speed is strong, but rare are the units that can also tack on an extra 30 luck to make their avoid really good. And if you don't think it makes a huge difference, well, here is the avoid calculation in Sacred Stones. As you can see, this means that Ewan's base avoid gets plus 30 points just from his maxed out luck. Very often this stat is underrated or seen as something you need to just have enough of to avoid crits. But in this case, it's having a real impact on the run. And if you still don't believe it has a big impact, I present to you the infamous Chapter 18, where Gorgons, when I equip a simple light tome on Ewan, will have a 0% chance to hit with stone. I'm pretty positive this is a first in the entire series. Not 100% sure, because I haven't rewatched the series recently, but I'm positive it might be. And then Ewan will proceed with simply one of the most beautiful, poetic looking Chapter 18 of all time. Nothing will be able to hit him. He will dance through the attacks, just dodging left, right, center, just purging the land of evil and making me a very, very happy YouTuber, because I thought this run would make me bash my head against a wall. I thought that by the 2-hour mark of recording, I would still be stuck in the prologue. So enjoy the Ewan domination for a minute. To further add to his domination, some of you may have noticed that his inventory still has a vulnerary in it, not an elixir. Chapter 18, now moving on to 19, still a little measly vulnerary. No elixirs. Well, if you guys remember the Sev video, the last video, should go watch that one too. I just watched the whole series. Just go watch the whole series if you're new here. Just put on the playlist. Support your boy. But as I talked about in the last Sev video, I kind of sometimes make it a little challenge for me to see how far I can make it without switching over from vulnerary to elixir. And Sev had to do that on chapter 16, which was really good. But Ewan, when I realized that fact, I started paying much more close attention to it, but he hasn't switched yet. And I'll be honest, I think this is the same vulnerary we've had since like chapter 9, because I'm pretty sure I haven't healed a single lick since the early game. Ewan has surprised me a lot. I didn't expect him to be bad due to magic being really strong. Traditionally, I really just expected him to stumble through the early 2 maps, but I really did not expect this level of domination and such an easy showing up to this point. And the ease of gameplay will not stop as I kill Reeve on chapter 19 and add the map early and grab Aura to move on to chapter 20. And here you'll see the first crack in Ewan's armor as Reeve number 2 will manage to hit Ewan with a single point of damage with Aura. This might be the end of the run, guys. This is really bad. I don't think Ewan can recover from that. It's looking tough. Jokes aside, we kill the zombie dragon and make it to the last map. Yay! So here is the final chapter. Will it be hard or easy for Ewan? Well, let's find out if he's trying going to be truly challenged in this unexpected run. First off, I will let go of the vulnerary and finally move on to elixirs. Not because I have needed it up to this point, but you know, just in case I get a chance to maybe first trying this, I don't want to blow it. So I'm going to bring the extra healing oomph. So I'll grab the extra angelic robe from the right chest. Not that it'll max out our HP, but 53 is better than 46. Next up, I'll go through the left-hand side of the map, something I rarely do. The reason is that Ewan has a better resistance than defense, so the eyeball reinforcement that spawn when you go left are probably an easier matchup than the gargoyles that spawn if you go right. Simple as that. So zombie dragon time, 52% chance to hit on his end, which might be some of the lowest I've seen. Again, I think Ewan is doing a lot of firsts here. So we'll kill him, no worries, but luckily we'll even dodge his attacks. Still damageless so far. Against one of the biggest endgame challenges. Woo! Good job, Ewan. So after the reinforcements have been taken out, I'll focus on the dogs on the left. I'll use Fimble, that tome. I could have used Excalibur in reality, but I think I was trying to play it safe, which is dumb. I don't know what I was doing. I just wanted to use Fimble, that tome, just because I want to use it sometimes. I don't know. Unexplainable. Despite the doggo's semi-decent hit rate, I will somehow dodge her attacks, and after that, I will actually mostly ignore the Gorgons and go for Leo, and let's see how this goes. Okay, so the first thing I'll do here is I'll pull out Purge, and I'll attack Neon for 9 Purge a pop. If you guys remember the Molder run, the Purge damage was about 1. So that's 8 more total damage with 6% crit rate. And you'll see the Gorgon attack here with 21% chance to hit. That's why I'm not scared. That's why I'm not going in, because I can do these 5 attacks of Purge for basically free and drop his health really low. If I get even 1 crit, I take him out without even facing him. So that's why I wanted Purge so bad earlier, because it's kind of worth it. I check Aura here, but I realize that Ewan is already Aura farming pretty well, so he doesn't need any of that. Anyways, we break the Purge on Leo and it doesn't crit. It's okay. Let's move on to attack him, and you can see, well, we don't need Aura to Aura farm. Ewan with Excalibur, 2 hits on Leo, and he 1-taps in. He's gonna hit off of that 28. I don't care, because you're dead, son. That is the power of this character so far. We beat Leo, and you can see here I'm a little like, huh? What happened? Okay, let's move on. Let's go to the Demon King and see how it goes. Leo was a joke, man. Even with the Sage class, I think the last 2 runs of Salah and Molder traumatized me from Sage. But here we go. Let's attack. Let's see. Excalibur, 23 damage each with 48% chance to hit on him. He's under that 50% threshold, which is really good, and even has a 19 speed, which is what I wanted to check. All right, so we go and attack him here. 23 damage on 95% chance. We even have a 5% chance to crit, and we do. Oh my god. Okay, he's down to 51 HP, and we dodge his attack of the 48. If he does hit us twice, we die, but we haven't used an elixir yet. So even if I didn't crit there, I think I was fine. But we crit, and you know what? All we have to do is not miss 5% here. So I just kind of go for it. We hit him. Does he hit us on the 48? He does, but it doesn't matter because we hit him back and we kill the Demon King. First try victory, a crit, a dodge, no use of any healing item on the final map. Haven't used a single healing since like chapter 8. What a dominant end to the run. Holy crap, guys. This was insane. This was a perfect ending to encompass how this run has gone. Ewan is a freaking monster, y'all. I'm without words. I'm not exaggerating when I'm saying this. It may have been our best run of all time. The best run wasn't Seth, the face of domination in Sacred Stones. No, it was the freaking trainee unit that people call bad most of the time. And yes, granted, Ewan was a little weak at first, but you guys saw the maps. He became an actual dominant force very quick. beating the early game with relative ease due to enemies having poor resistance, and then stomping through the rest of the game because his growths just pop the fuck off, and ultimately showed that growth units are the best in solo runs, bar none, if you ask me personally. My personal analysis is growths are great in solo runs. I think it's very clear to everyone that Ewan is the best of the 3 training units in the solo run format, for sure. There's no debate there. And that is further supported by his turn count of 334 turns, which, considering we have to be a little bit more careful early on and he's not mounted, it's pretty good. And his time is 6 hours and 48 minutes. This is our first post 7-hour time for these runs. And look, I've talked often in other videos about time and turns being an inaccurate metric, especially time, since things like inventory management and animation speed can affect a lot of that metric, and it creates a big variance that's really hard to control for. But considering his horrible bases due to his class, that is an impressive performance. Ewan is almost impossible to place on the tier list. Did he get lucky in some instances? Yes, of course he did. But by God, he didn't use a single elixir in the entire game. He died a few times early, but once I adjusted the pace, he ran through the game with ease. Yes, he did it in more turns than Tana, Seth, and Cormac, but he did it in 334 turns without being mounted or flying. That's kind of insane if you ask me. It might seem wrong to give him number 1, but y'all, I think someone's finally dethroned Cormac for our best solo run unit. Because Cormac, while very easy, didn't handle Chapter 18 as well. And even the final map didn't handle it as well. He handled it pretty easily, but still not as well. And I will say it. I'll do it. All hail King Ewan, folks. This tiny child with a dream surprised me more than any run I've done in a long time. Magic is just too good for this. And look, I hate to make Cormac number 2 as he's my favorite unit in this game, but I'm going to give Ewan the top spot for now. If you don't agree with this, tell me in the comments, and I'm sure enough people can make a good argument. I'll readjust. I've done it in the past. I'm not above doing that. But at least for his own video, we'll give the kid the crown. And maybe he'll lose it back to Cormac later, but at least he'll get the recognition he deserves for a little bit. All hail King Ewan, the best trainee and the best solo runner. On the topic of the tier list, you may have seen that Mulder made his way on the tier list. I did decide to add him to the tier list despite the cheating that had to be done. A lot of you guys said in the comments that because of the way I gave him a handicap for the time and turns, it does kind of make it seem fair. I'm still keeping an asterisk on the name to be like, hey, there's a little bit of shenanigans that needed to happen, but I will be including the healers in the normal tier list just because it's fun. And again, it's not scientific, it's just for fun. And we give them enough handicap that it makes their time and turn feel like fair. So here it is. Mulder's also on the tier list. With all this being said, don't forget to like the video if you really enjoyed the content or if you love Ewan. And if you want to support the channel further, check out the join button below and become a member today. Huge shout out goes to all my members and Twitch subscriber who support every month. But I must give a special shout out to my tier 2 and 3 members here on YouTube. Those being Brawler456, Forgotten Fox, Hirame, Case, Iron Wolf, Storm Eagle CH, Stylish, A Grumpy Bear, Reploid Zero, and Rogue Arcadia. Thank you all for the extra support. And thank you all again for watching. And I'll see you all in the next one, people. Or during the stream on the 7th. Don't miss it. Put it in your calendar. 7th of December. Live Ewan solo run. Be there. Love to see ya. All right now. See you guys later. Bye-bye.